Hello, my name is Ray Hughes, and I'm an interviewer, or the interviewer, for the Veterans History Project conducted by the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., locally administered here at the Cincinnati-Hamilton County Public Library at 9th and Main and 9th and Walnut Streets. And the local administrator is Brian Powers, who's our cameraman today. Today is the 11th of December, 2019, and today we have the honor and privilege of interviewing a World War II veteran, Robert W. Loichinger, a veteran of the United States Army Air Corps and the 15th Air Force out of Italy during World War II. Mr. Loichinger, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You say it's okay to call you Bob, or do you?
Anything, as long as it's clean, it's fine.
Okay. All right. Bob, if you would, tell us your date of birth and where you were living when you were born.
Lived in Cincinnati here, 12/20/23.
December the 20th, 1923.
23 years.
Where were you living when you were born, the street address?
On Bates Avenue.
On Bates Avenue?
Well, really was Knox Street.
Mm-hmm.
And then they moved down to Bates Avenue.
I see.
Yeah.
And what were your parents' names, Bob?
My parents what?
Your mother and father, what were their names?
My mother was Hilda Loichinger, and my dad was William Bill.
And what was your mother's maiden name, Bob?
Stridehorse.
Stridehorse?
Stridehorse, another good
German
name, yeah.
What did your dad do for a living, Bob?
He was a printer.
Where at?
He worked for Proctor Printing Company right down there on 9th Street. The Proctor Printing Company. They used to print stuff for banks and stuff like that, yeah.
I see. And was your mother a housewife, or did she have a job?
Yeah, she was a housewife, and she volunteered for the Red Cross, and she would teach classes, underprivileged women, how to sew and make baby clothes and stuff like that.
I see.
And so she would take a street, we had no car, right, take a streetcar and bring it, come from Bates Avenue down to around 9th Street down there, one of these factory buildings, and she would teach them she would buy the material, outing flannel material and stuff like that, and all the thread and all that kind of stuff and teach them how to make all this kind of baby clothes and stuff like that.
I see. She never worked for Bayless Brothers, did she?
No, she never worked for anybody, as far as I know.
And did you have brothers and sisters?
I got one sister, and she worked with Dr. Sabin at Sabin Vaccine.
Yes.
She ran, that Dr. Sabin had volunteers and gifts and grants and stuff like that. So my sister ran an group of office people that did got the money in and distributed the money out for all this research and stuff like that. So she worked for them for years.
Was she working for him when he developed the
That's Sabin Vaccine,
polio?
Yeah.
What was her name?
Wilma.
Wilma?
Wilma, yeah.
Was she married?
No, never got married. And then she moved from Cincinnati here up to Alaska, and she worked for the University of Alaska up there for years. And then she stayed there for a while, and she decided to move back to Cincinnati again, because up there was 65 degrees below zero all the time. And so she moved in with us in the old farmhouse, where the newer house is now. And she moved in with us, and one Saturday she stood in the living room like it is now, windy and stuff like that. And she had heavy slacks on and everything pulled up to keep her warm. And she said, "Boy, it's cold in this house." And she just came to 65 degree below weather in Alaska and moved in with us and said it's cold in our house. And I figured, boy, this is pretty cotton picking cold. Then she moved. Then she moved from there, went to Florida, Then she worked for the university in Florida down there. And the mayor, or whoever the heck it was, gave her his apartment that she could work out of down in Florida for a while. Yeah.
When you were a boy growing up, what churches did you belong to?
Not really many at all.
Mm-hmm. And what school did you go to? Grade school and
Camp Washington, right there at Hopple Street.
right.
Yeah. And then from there, then we went right up the street up there, the vocational school back then. And then I went to school there. And you took architectic work, carpenter work, and welding and all that kind of stuff like that.
Was that Central Vocational?
Yeah. It turned out to be, yeah, but I can't remember what it was back then. Yeah.
And what were you studying there?
What did I study? Whatever classes they were. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. You did drawing, architect, designing and stuff like that, and you did carpenter work, and you did welding,
When you were
electrical work. I'm sorry.
When you were a boy, did you know your grandparents on both sides?
We lived with my mother's father on their house on Bates Avenue. That was their house.
What was his name?
Herman.
Herman?
Herman Streithorst, yeah.
And what about your dad's parents?
I never knew them. I
I
never
see.
knew them. No.
I see. What kind of jobs did you have as a boy?
As a boy,
Yeah.
I sold newspapers, and we got 3 cents. You pay 3 cents for a newspaper. I made a half a cent. You'd walk up 3 flights of stairs. You deliver, this is the local Post and Time Star, because you didn't deal Enquirer, because the Enquirer was in the morning.
Right.
And they would give you the paper, get the papers. You'd walk up 3 flights of stairs on the way home after you sold papers at Fashion Frocks, Zano Products, and I'm trying to think of the machine shop, where they during the war they made cannons and stuff like that. They machined the big barrels and stuff like that and stuff like that. This was right on Coleraine Avenue, right where Hopple Street is up there.
Uh-huh.
And you ended up doing that kind of stuff. And then on the way home, you had 1 or 2 home delivery customers. You walk up 3 flights of stairs and you knock on the door and holler Post, Time Star, whatever it happens to be. Drop the paper at the door and you go back to, you made a half a cent. And look what the papers cost today.
Yeah.
And you try to get them to bring the paper in so I don't have to walk out the driveway. They bring it in and throw it back, and they throw it on the street out there.
Yeah.
They had a carrier for years that would throw the paper down, would bring it in, drive around, turn around the driveway and drive back out of here. It only takes a couple of minutes. Well, they changed a different carrier to throw the paper, and this one don't throw the paper out there.
Yeah.
So that's what Mrs. Borman does. On her way to the YMCA in the morning, she stops and picks a paper up off the street, drives it in, puts it up on the porch. So really, I don't even have to just reach out the door to pick it up. And then she goes on to do her business.
Did you live on Bates Street your whole childhood?
Yeah.
Do you recall Pearl Harbor Day, December the 7th?
Oh my gosh, yeah, well, sure.
Where were you and what were you doing on Pearl Harbor Day? Do you remember?
Probably in school, yeah.
At the vocational school?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you would have been what, 1941, December 41, you would have been 18?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Did you think about joining the service then, or what did you think?
No, I got draft notice. And I thought, well, instead of waiting until you graduate and you get drafted, I'll join up ahead of time. If there's any promotions to be put out, I'll be the first one in line.
Because you're a volunteer.
So that's what I did. So I volunteered, yeah.
I see.
That's when I went up.
So you Your date of induction is the 11th of February, 1943?
Do what?
You joined on the 11th of February, 1943.
Probably, yeah.
Where did you go when you first joined up, to Fort Thomas or what?
Went to Fort Thomas, yeah.
And did you take a physical over there, or?
Yeah. And ended up giving me a physical. And when I was 7 years old, we lived on Bates Avenue, and right down the street where Crosley's was down there, you know, they had the workhouse. They had what they call Valley View Park, and they had slides and stuff like that, a swimming pool, stuff like that. So everybody could sit on the slide and slide down, no problem whatsoever, you know. Smart ass me, I know much better than that. And my mother made my clothes, so she had the buttons tied on real nice and tight. So I'm going to go down head first. And this is an old stainless steel big slide with a double dip in it, you know. So I lay down to go down like that, and I fall off the top of that thing. And I break my arm. And look at what happened with that arm.
Yeah.
And I flew in the 15 Air Force in the Second World War, a crooked arm like that.
They didn't stop you though?
No. The only time that arm came in handy, when I got out of service, we got married, and I moved in with a family by the name of Kuchenberger. And their uncle was a town, administrator or something here in the city here, like that. And so we moved in above their garage, with a 3-car garage in the back of the house. So we moved in with them there with that. And we lived there for quite a few years.
Who was we?
My wife. And they had a little boy, my oldest son, was born then.
What was your wife's name?
Ruth.
Ruth?
Yeah.
And
her name was Weinberg.
Weinberg?
Yeah, that's a good Irish name.
Yes. And when did you get married?
It's with wherever that paper is.
Did you get married after you got out of the service?
No, I got married when I was in the service. I came back from overseas after putting 51 missions in. My mother had to go sign papers because I wasn't 21 yet. I go overseas to get killed, she had to sign papers for that. But that shows you how dangerous marriage was back then, back in the 40s.
All right, so you let's go back, and you're at Fort Thomas and you take your physical. What happens to you then? Do they ship you somewhere?
I think we came back, I don't remember. Yeah, that's too doggone long, I can't remember that, yeah.
Where'd you go for basic training?
I think it was Harlingen, Texas, I think it was.
Tell us about your basic training.
Normal.
What were you being trained for?
Gunnery, you shoot guns and stuff like that. You would get on the back of a pickup truck with sides on it, and you get a shotgun, and they would drive around a big figure 8, and they would shoot these clay pigeons up, and you were supposed to shoot these things, go in different directions and stuff like that.
With a shotgun?
With a shotgun, yeah. Yeah, with load shot, yeah.
Did you have any gunnery practice with 50 caliber or 20 millimeter?
I don't remember right. Probably did. Your handheld, because they ended up. I remember flying, and then we shot it. They had an airplane would pull these. What do you call it? A drape like behind it, you know.
Yeah, like a.
And then you had the bullets that you had colored tips on them. So when you find anything and it would hit something, it would make a mark, a colored mark
in the fabric.
It's in a trailing thing, yeah. Yeah, I can remember that, yeah.
And that was down in Texas when you were doing that, or?
I'm pretty sure it was, yeah.
Did you go anywhere else besides Harlingen, Texas, for training?
Probably did, but I can't remember.
Is that when they decided to make you a gunner?
I guess.
Yeah. That was your job in the Air Force, wasn't it?
Yeah, mechanic and gunner, yeah, yeah. If anything broke down in a plane while we were flying, we repaired it. Like the plane would get shot up, the hydraulic system was shot out, and you drop the wheels to land. Well, the wheel would come down so far, and the stabilizer wouldn't come all the way down to lock the wheel, so it would fold up otherwise.
Right.
So we had a crank on the inside with cables on it, and you would crank this until it pulled this thing tight enough that it would land. Well, that worked fine the first one, but then when they redid the plane again, sent us back up again, we had the same thing happen a second time, and we cranked it, and the cable was stretched, and it wouldn't lock down anymore. So when we landed the second time, the control tower told us don't land on a lot of wire on that mesh and tear the whole driveway, the whole runway, to land off on the side of the dirt. So that's what we did when we landed. You set the nose wheel down and the one wheel down, and then that's when there's pictures of that wheel going up and stuff like that. Yeah.
Was that a safe landing?
Yeah, it ruined the airplane. Yeah.
But
As far as us, nobody was hurt. Yeah. 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 We never had anybody get hurt on a plane, really.
When you finished your basic training, where did you go?
I don't remember. I haven't the faintest idea where the heck we went.
When were you assigned to the 15th Air Force?
Once again, I don't remember.
Okay. When you left the United States, were you assigned to a B24?
Yeah, they gave us a brand new plane. We took off.
Where'd you pick it up at?
Down in Florida, down there, I think it was. And then we flew over seas by ourselves, just one plane. And the only recognition you had is there was an island partly across the ocean.
Would you take the southern route to South
Must
America?
have been, yeah. We ended up going in wherever that log thing is, wherever the papers, that book, when my mother had made that thing. No, it wouldn't be in there. No, it wouldn't be in there. It's that other thing, wherever the heck, wherever you got that.
The book that his mother made up.
Yeah. It's got a ribbon.
I don't have it. Oh, they're scanning it? Well, if you took the southern route, you went down to Brazil and then took off across that
Right,
Natal.
you're right. Mm-hmm, yeah.
And did you land in North Africa or anything?
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah, we lived in the North Africa part. And then from there we jumped over to Tunisia, into part of Italy and stuff like that, and then went to the base camps where we're just on the hillside. All it is, Yeah.
Was that at Foggia?
Probably Foggia, I guess. That's I think. It's been a long time ago. I can't remember all that stuff.
And how many combat missions did you fly, Bob?
Credited with 51, but actually missions was 39, because some of the missions were 11 hours long, and you got credit for two missions because they were so long. I mean, you were going for 11 hours in the air. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And your position on the plane?
Was nose gunner. I did bombardiering, navigating, and sightseeing and everything else. Because I was the only one on a plane that could see where we were going. Because I'm sitting right out there, and it's like sitting there looking down at your feet down there. Because all that's in front of you is 250 caliber machine guns, and the rest of the garbage for the turret.
Could you drop the bombs from that position?
No, I didn't do anything other than tell them what to do.
Okay.
Now, if I seen Now, if you, I don't know if you know how the planes are they're laid out. A squadron, we had 464th Bombardment Group. There were 776 squadrons, 77th, 78th, and 79th. There was 4 squadrons that made up the 464th Bombardment Group. And each one was more or less tried to require to send 5 planes up out of each one of the squadron to fill this box up. And the box consisted of 1 plane at the top, 1 on the side, a little lower, on the other side, the same distance, and then another one a little bit lower, and then behind that 2 more, and then 1 more. So there were 7 planes in that grouping.
And you flew in the lead plane?
We flew the one, and then when I would watch, when I would see the lead plane open his bomb bay doors, I would holler into the intercom to open the bomb bay doors. And he would open the bomb bay doors. Then they were watching, if I seen the bombs coming out the bottom, I would holler to release the bombs. They're bombing now. That way the bombardier didn't have to worry about what was going on and stuff like that. And when we were flying back and forth, going back, I could see the ground and see where the bridges were, the rivers were, the roads were, because I'm right up front where the pilot is sitting behind me, up behind us, so he couldn't see the ground.
Right.
So I could see all the navigating and stuff like that. So I did more of the I didn't physically do this stuff, but mentally I could instruct what was going on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you had 50 caliber machine guns in the nose?
Yeah, 2 of them. Yeah. And I don't think I ever shot the thing other than practice.
Is that right?
Well, the thing is, the Germans fighters would come all around you and fight, shooting machine guns, and your squadrons kept real close together. They weren't any further than practice from here, that bookcase away, from the ring tip of the next plane. Because if you're too far apart, the Germans would dive through you. And that way they eat us on the waist guns, would end up shooting their own planes down because they're shooting at the enemy plane. But all the bullets you're hitting their own plane.
That's why you had those box patterns then.
You had to what?
Like a box pattern, where you kept the Germans out here instead of coming in.
Right. And the thing they did over there, when we were over there, they had P-51s and they had P-38 fighters. Ours did. The P-51s would fly back and forth underneath us. The P-38s would fly overhead because you're looking up at the sun. And that way you could tell the difference between a P-38 and a P-51. Then you could Messerschmitts and stuff like that. German planes all look like the P-51s and stuff like that. So by keeping them separate like that, you didn't shoot your own planes down.
Mm-hmm.
This is my theory.
Sure. Tell us about some of the missions that you had. You remember your first mission, where you were bombing then?
No, I don't remember.
You remember some of your missions where on bomb
Well, I can
runs?
say I remember that one. When the Southern France invasion, I remember that one real well. Because we went, the day before, we flew up and we bombed all the bridges and all the roads coming to the coast. Then we went back, and the next day we went back up again, and we flew about 500 feet off of the ground. And I could actually see the guys picking the shells up and putting them in the guns, on the coastal guns. As low as I was, right in front out there, I could see all this stuff like that. And then that's when we bombed them. And when you went in, there's flak all over the place, and by the time you got through and turned around and come back out again, there was nothing. All the gunnery was done, yeah. And then when we flew, that's the first time I'd ever seen a battleship from the air, because there was one battleship, and then there's Coast Guard planes, boats all around it for protection. But that was one battleship I had seen that time, yeah. But that's one mission I remember real well, yeah, yeah.
Was your plane ever hit by
Oh, all the time.
flak or?
All the time, yeah. Always had holes in it, yeah, yeah. But lucky enough, it was just minor hydraulic lines and stuff like that, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Was anyone?
Well, I can tell you one mission. All the officers, the group commanders, squadron commanders, navigators, and all this stuff, they were all big officers. Well, they didn't fly that much. So they decided when you fly, you get 50% of your base pay. In other words, you get a salary for the base for flying, and then you get one for flying the plane. You'll be being in the plane. So all these officers decided they're going to all go on this one mission to get their flying time, and they ended up getting a hit in the nose. And it was a lead plane. As I say, you have a lead plane here, you have one here, one here, and one here, one here, one here, and one back here. Well, they were the lead plane up there. Well, I'm up in front up there and I could see everything. They got a direct hit in the nose. And when the shell went off, it burned all the aluminum foil off the coating off the outside, and all you could see was the ribs. And so when they got hit, they veered up to fall out of formation because they couldn't control anything anymore. And so I hollered at the pilot that each one of these planes had a yellow E or B or whatever, had big numbers on the thing to identify them easy.
On the tail, yeah.
Right, yeah, identify them, yeah. And this one was falling over on us, so I hollered at the pilot to fall out, get out of the way, because it's going to come over on top, hit us, because they were falling back. And it disappeared down into the bombing area. And years later, years ago on television, they had a program, This Is Your Life program. I don't remember that or not.
Yes, I do.
Art Linkletter had that program. Well, on this plane, this particular day, they were interviewing this guy, and it turned out that he was one of the officers on that plane, and he had parachuted out and made it out safely. And the people of that country, what they call partisans, they took care of him, and he got back safe. And he got on that program, and he was telling about this mission. And when we went back, we reported that they got a hit, and probably everyone was killed, because the plane exploded. And so that was one of the times like that, yeah. That's what my wife said. I never shut up.
No. No. What do you remember? Any of the major cities that you bombed after that?
Oh, Yugoslavia, or Vietnam, or not Vietnam, but Palestine.
Tell us about the bomb runs on Palestine. I understand they were well protected.
Yeah. Well, they thought so much of that. It was an oil refinery area, and they thought so much of it that they built another city like it close by to make it look, to confuse the pilots to go to the wrong one and bomb the wrong thing.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And they built a railroad yard with all the tracks and everything going into it, and there was only 2 tracks going into this railroad, like marshalling yard, like in the city here. And there was 2 tracks going into it, and then the rest of it was all tracks like that. And then all along the tracks, they had flat cars with guns on it. The ME-109s and stuff like that, yeah. They had red shells, yeah. And they would shoot at you, stuff like that, yeah.
And how many missions did you make on Palestine, for example?
Oh, that I don't have the faintest idea.
Was your plane hit while you were flying over Palestine?
Oh, it always got hit, yeah, yeah. We just lucky we never got hit at a major point, yeah, yeah.
You were, did you lose any of your crewmen on these missions?
No, we never did. The only crew man we lost was ball turret. The guy that sat in the ball turret underneath. And he decided he's going to go into town and have a good time. And he spent the wrong place at the wrong time. I won't go into what it was. But they grounded him because it was a nerve disease. Mm-hmm. And so when we got discharged, we all got discharged except for him, because he still had missions to do because he didn't go on all the missions with us. So he still had missions to finish it. So whatever happened to him, I haven't finished that yet.
What city were you near in Italy at your home base?
I really don't know.
Did you ever go into town while you were there?
As I say, we went to a rest camp into the Isle of Capri is, yeah.
What'd you do while you were at the Isle of Capri?
A little bit, nothing. We swam, wore swimming trunks, and they had, what do you call them? I'm trying to think. This fish with all tubes on them, what the heck they call them?
Floats?
What?
A float that you'd float on?
No, I'm talking about the fish itself.
Oh.
And we would go hunting those with knives, yeah. Trying to think, I can't think what the name of the dumb things were.
Did you
Octopus, what it was.
Oh, octopus?
Yeah, we would go hunting those things. Just to be doing something, that's all, yeah.
Do you remember, did you stay on the same crew the whole time you were flying missions?
Yeah.
Do you remember the names of your crew?
One is Captain Campbell was the
Who?
Campbell.
Captain Campbell?
He was the pilot.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember the rest of his names now.
Where are you at in this picture?
Right here. Yes, the other mechanic, it was me, was the nose gunner. That was the ball turret gunner. And then these were radio operator and the waist gunner.
And the navigator.
He was the tail gunner.
And you're the nose gunner, and that's Bob Loichinger right here.
Yeah.
And you were flying the B24. The B24 had 4 engines on it.
Right, and B25 had 2 in, yeah.
Right. The B24, if I remember right, they had a nose gunner, a ball turret gunner, 2 waist gunners.
Yeah, and top turret
gunner,
and the tail gunner.
and a tail gunner.
Yeah. And you had 2 of them that stood in the waist they swung down out of the roof of the plane. They were loose by themselves. You opened the window, the door on the side, and you could shoot out the side. Yeah.
Do you recall what kind of bomb loads you carried? How many bombs?
It varied. I know one time we carried 2 1,200-pound bombs.
Wow.
It filled the bomb bay up completely, as they were so big.
Right.
Otherwise, you carried incendiary.
Did you carry incendiary bombs?
Oh yeah, incendiary bombs, yeah, all kind of stuff like that, yeah. As to how, whatever they had loaded there, yeah.
And when they hit the ground, they would start to fires.
Right, yeah. And those big 1,200-pound bombs, they were trying to get these, what do you call it? Where they were in the ground, the Germans had these places in the ground where they had reinforcement and stuff like that, yeah. That's what they used, those to try to break through to blow those up, yeah.
I lost my train of thought there on that. The incendiary bombs, do you recall the cities that you used those on?
I haven't the faintest idea.
How often did you use an incendiary?
That I haven't the faintest idea neither. Yeah. Whatever was on, the pilot was told where we were going to go, or else he wasn't even told. The whole squadron went to one place.
Did you stay in touch with any of your crew after the war?
Nope, never did.
That's kind of odd, isn't it? Maybe not.
I wasn't interested anymore. That was enough of that.
Yeah.
Then when I came back out, that's when I ended up living with the Guckenbergers, and the one was a lawyer, and he was in the National Guard. And he said, "Wow, why don't you join the National Guard? You only go one night a week, and then one weekend they have camp, stuff like that, extra money. I mean, you're paying rent, and you don't have that much, a small job and stuff like that." So I ended up joining. The first year where I was in, they sent us to Camp Perry, up along the lake area up there. And the Korean War came along. And the first outfit to be federalized by the president was the 38th Ordnance Battalion, which I ended up turning out to be a sergeant major of the whole thing. So I'm going back overseas again. So I go down to get physical, and I get the physical down there, and they come to this crooked arm. And they said, "Well, we can pass you if you want to go over." I said, "I never lost anything the last damn time. I sure the heck don't want to go through looking for it again." So they said, "Well, we'll discharge you again." So in those papers that you got, you'll see there's 2 discharges.
Uh-huh.
And one is from the Korean War, and the other is from the Second World War.
How's your... Go ahead.
The wrong place at the wrong conflict time. The man said, "Volunteer?" Well, you volunteer?
When you got out of the Air Force, though, coming back, you were a sergeant, correct?
Yes. I ended up saying it was master sergeant, yeah.
Oh, master sergeant.
I had 6 stripes.
3 underneath.
And then when I went to this Korean thing, that's when I ended up being the first sergeant, and then that's when I got the diamond in the middle, yeah. Oh, wonderful.
Did you stay in the
No way.
You got out when you got your discharge?
No, then I volunteered for the fire department. So here I'm a lieutenant in the Groesbeck Fire Department for 9 years, for all these years.
For which one?
Groesbeck Fire Department,
Uh-huh.
Coleraine Township. Now.
Right.
So they have this fire come in, Western Home Center fire, a cabinet company on Coleraine Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the firemen was a volunteer like I was. We would volunteer to ventilate buildings, look for survivors and stuff like that. We kind of worked together as a pair. I mean, you only got made $1, big deal, you know. And so this particular day, when this call came in, was on our wedding anniversary. It was our 20th wedding anniversary. Just sitting down to eat supper, and this call comes in. And the guy that usually drove the pumper, he worked at GE out there, and he was on a fire department out there. Well, his relief man didn't show up on time, so he couldn't leave. He had to stay with the fire department. So all the firemen that lived on Coleraine Avenue went right across the street where the fire was. Well, I live on the other side, over by St. Anne's over there. So I go up, and I'm on the back with all my gear on, waiting to go. The fire chief, Roy Johnson, he's sitting in the co-pilot seat, and nobody else shows up. And the new pumper, his dad was assistant fire chief, and he drove the new pumper down there. My goodness, that new pumper. And so they were all gone, and all the rest of the firemen went down there, except this Lee Hammett, that him and I volunteered together. He was on squad call. So he had to come and get the ambulance. And he had his white coveralls on, like we always wore when we were on squad call. And so he came up and he hollered at me. He said, "Boy, Bob was coming through the roof down there." Because he lived right across the street from it, too. And you could see the smoke and stuff like that coming out of the building. So he went on down like that, and I'm on the back waiting for somebody to drive the pumper. Roy Johnson hollered at me, "Bob, you better come and drive. Don't look like anyone's going to show up." So I had to shed my gear so I could drive again with a heavy junk on, stuff like that. So I took all that stuff off, and I ended up driving the pumper down. So when they got down there, they wanted to chop a hole in the roof of the building, to ventilate the building to get the pressure off. And instead of chopping a hole in the hospital boy, the guy's dad owned the hospital. And he said, well, instead of chopping a hole in the roof of that building, he said, I'll show you where the fan is. Because the building was like a big airplane. It was a monstrous thing. It was from here to the building across the street over there. It was super big. And he said, instead of chopping a hole in, I'll show you where this fan is. We'll flip the switch on and turn on a fan and drive everything up. So, since I wasn't there, the other fireman, he had one of the other younger firemen go in with him. The hospital boy was going to show him what a switch was. So the building is a showroom on the first floor, and behind that is the office, and behind that is where they manufacture all the cabinets. And then in between there was a big wooden staircase that went to the second floor, and that's where they kept the extra cabinets and stuff like that, all the finished product. And so they went up the steps, and Roy Johnson's son had a press camera, and he used to take pictures. A lot of those pictures and stuff like that are pictures that he had taken of wrecks and stuff like that, and I would give him a quarter for each one of the pictures from my scrapbook. So he was going to go up with him, and Roy Johnson, or not Roy Johnson, but Lee Hammond, wore glasses, and he had a Scott Air Pack on, and SM mask, the other one did, and it don't fit tight. So he took his glasses off and gave it to Ron. He said, you stay here, don't you come back with it. You stay at the top of the steps there, and you hold my glasses. When we come out, you give my glasses back. Well, they disappeared back in there, and that's when the building blew up. And the hospital boy and the two firemen burnt to death. They found their bodies 4 o'clock the next morning in a kneeling position where they were crawling across the floor to hit the switch, and they were burnt to death. And the only reason I wasn't in there again is because I had to drive the pumper. Just like on the damn airplane. These guys, big officers, get a direct hit in the nose, the plane blows up. We're 25, 30 feet away from nothing but a few holes in this thing. Once again, it wasn't my time to go again.
You leave the charmed life.
And I'm still 95, I'm still going. What the heck is wrong?
So after your 39 missions,
51.
51,
Yeah.
but you said they counted them.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Technically.
Because that one picture's got that jacket with all the bombs on the front of it, 51 bombs on her. I had made a little cardboard pattern.
Do you still have that jacket?
No, I wore it out, yeah. I should have kept it, but I didn't.
You sure should have. Those are worth a lot.
And it had the target for the night was painted on the back of it. As a thing, yeah. Like that one plane had a target for the night. It was painted on the back of the jacket. And then had all the bombs painted on it. Each measure we'd paint a bomb, paint a little bomb on a thing, yeah.
When did you find out you were going to be discharged? Were you looking forward to being sent back to the States?
Oh, yeah, when we was back, yeah.
When you hit 35?
I came back from overseas during the Second World War. And every base you went to, there was a lot of GIs getting discharged. So they had the telephones tied up. They were always calling home and stuff like that. So I could never get a telephone to call home. So my mother and dad and friends of ours used to play cards on a Saturday night. So I got a bus from Indianapolis. That's where I got discharged, in Indianapolis. I got bus and came back to Cincinnati and got a cab downtown down there at the train station, at the bus station down the bus station. And I had the cab drop me off at home. Well, I hadn't called home as far as my parents knew I was still over in Italy. So I go to the door and I knock on the door because there's no doorbell. So on base. They have the old houses down. I knock on the door. My dad comes to the door. So, hi, Robert, how you doing? And he goes around, he unlocks the door and goes in and sits back down to play cards again. My mom says, who was that? Well, that was Robert. Robert? What the heck is he doing there? He come back from overseas. And that's when they finally found I was back home again.
He was real glad to see you.
Oh, yeah. But he didn't realize it was me. And he didn't open the door, big deal.
Oh, my goodness. How did you get back to the United States from Italy?
On that troop ship, I said, with all the prisoners.
No, you didn't say that. You didn't tell us that.
We came back from overseas. Instead of sending us back by plane, they needed guards to guard the German prisoners. They sent German prisoners to be encamped in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, I think, 2,321 or something like that, German prisoners on this boat. And they gave us shotguns, machine guns, what the hell have you, to guard these prisoners. And we would keep an eye on them and stuff like that. And when we got back, they had a count of us. They came to New York Harbor and unloaded them in New York. And we had to count each one how many were. Well, there was 4 of them missing. And all we can figure out is when we came out of Italy, you came through the Straits of Gibraltar, the Mediterranean Sea over there. And all we can figure out is they must have jumped ship. Because that's the only place we were anywhere close to the beach.
Yeah.
Well, not the beach, but anyway, the shore.
What was the name of the ship? Do you recall?
I have about that faintest idea. I would care less.
I know.
Yeah.
But sometimes the guys remember the name of the ship.
No.
So when you came home, did you have a girlfriend that you were riding while you were overseas?
With my wife, yeah. We went to school together. We're not the same school, but she went to Sacred Heart School, and I went to Camp Washington School.
What was her name?
Ruth, my wife's name, Ruth, yeah.
And her
Weinberg.
Weinberg?
Yeah.
And where'd she live at?
She lived on McMillan Street.
McMillan?
Yeah, McMillan and McMicken.
Where it comes down?
The hill that goes up
down,
the University of Cincinnati.
Comes down the hill.
Right, yeah. She just lived a couple of blocks down the street from there.
And were you corresponding, writing her letters while you were in the service?
Yeah, but me and writing wasn't much of anything. It was kind of crummy.
So when you got back, did you take up with her again?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And how long did you go together before you proposed to her?
Gee, I don't remember how many years. Wasn't that long. Because I got pictures at home of our wedding.
When did you get married?
When?
The date?
19th of October, 1943.
Oh, 19 when?
43.
Oh, then you got married before you went overseas.
No, this is when it must have been after that, after 44, I guess, maybe, I don't remember what the heck it was. All I can tell you is I remember the date was the 19th of October.
You came
was
home?
when that Western Camden fire was, and that was 1964.
64. That was your 20th.
That was our 20th wedding anniversary.
Yeah, because you got discharged on 12 September 44, and you got married October.
While I was still in the service, yeah.
October the 20th.
Yeah.
That was the date of the fire, right? October 20th.
Right. Yeah.
So you got married in 1944.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a long time ago. Been 50, 57 years, 59 years.
Longer than that. What did you do for a living when you came home from the war?
Looking for a job. I sold newspapers at Fashion Frocks. And also I used to sell them at Crosby's, Fashion Frocks, Zano Products, and then this machine Can't think of the name of the cotton picker machine shop on Coal Rainer. But then when I came back, I needed a job. So I went down there and tried to get a job down there. So they hired me.
At the machine shop?
At the machine, not now at the machine shop, at the dress factory,
Okay. Fashion Proc?
Fashion Procs. That was a mail catalog dress place where they had catalogs and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, they needed somebody to run it's like a big shear. You would 3-foot square pieces of material, a whole stack of them, and a cardboard bottom. And then you had it set up where you would cut these knives with zigzag, with pinking type of cutting, where it made zigzag cuts and stuff like that. And you would cut these in little swatches, different sizes like that. And then when you get the whole piece cut up the size that they want, then you took them on a piece of new cardboard and you took it up to the 3rd floor of the building, and that's where the girls were up there. They had printed sheets of a catalog, and they would glue
The swatches.
the swatches on it, all different colors and styles and material, and they would put them all in line like that, and that's what I did. So I did that, and I made a big 50 cents an hour. I made $40 a week. Well, what a big money back then. So I worked 40 hours, or 20 hours, worked 40 hours a week and made $20, if not 40 hours.
Yeah. And how long did you do that?
I worked there for almost 1 year, and then the paper had an ad in there. The post office was paying 90 cents an hour for Christmas help. Holy smoke, I'm going to get a raise from 40 cents an hour to 90 cents an hour. So I quit there and went with the post office. And when you go to work at the post office, they give you a little booklet about so big. It's all typed spacing in it. You know, each page was one after the other. They had the carrier, the mailman's number. It was a 3 number, like 7th or something like that. And then they had the address of the street name, and then they had the address of the street. And you had page after page after page of this. And you're supposed to study this, and then at the end of this time, you would go take a test. And it'd have these little business type of cards, you know. And you were supposed to throw these cards into these little cubby holes where they put the mail and stuff like that. They gave me that book. I opened the drawer where I keep my underwear and put it in there. And that's where it stayed until I was ready to take the test. I took the book out and handed the book. I said, I quit. That's it. I never had another job to go to. So here I am with a son, a wife, and a place to live too.
And no job.
So I look in the paper, and the International Harvester Company is looking for a bodyman, mechanic. I'd never worked in a garage in my life. I never owned a car. So I go in for an interview. Well, we're looking for a mechanic and a bodyman. You know anything about body work? Oh my gosh, I worked at a gas station for years. I never worked at a gas station in my life. So I get the job. So on the way, they were up on Reading Road. International Harvester Company was back there. So on the way back, I went over, I can't remember the name of the street. Sears Roebuck was up there on Reading Road.
Right.
So I stopped and bought a little toolbox. There was some screwdrivers and wrenches and stuff like that for the toolbox, and I went to work the next day. When I got to work, the body man they had was going to quit and start his own business. And so I asked him, could you show me what the heck to do? So you know what he did? He did the body work, and back then you never had fiberglass and stuff like that. He did spot putty. So he would get these things all ready, and he would smear spot putty over it, and he'd give me a piece of sandpaper. Here's sand it all nice and smooth so I can paint it. That's as much as instructions I got. So I worked there for 9 years. When I left there, I quit and went with Allstate Insurance Company as an insurance adjuster. I thought, boy, that's a good gravy job. You wear a nice suit, white shirt and tie. You go around and look at these jobs and you write down there what you want and stuff like that. And you get an agreed price for the garage and write them a check. Boy, this is a deal now. So I get this job and I work for him for a while. And the big shot from Cleveland, a fellow by the name of Frank Moore, I can still remember that his name. So they said, well, you're all done. Well, they had a meeting with the adjusters, the casualty men, which were the lawyers for people injured, and they had the MD men, which was myself and a couple of others, that went around and looked at wrecks and garage doors broken and all that kind of stuff like the material damage was. So I went and got all done with that, and we got ready to leave. And he said, Bob, you're doing stay after the shop. We got a special meeting with you. He said, you're doing a good job. He said, but when you go into a garage and you see these guys are sitting around doing nothing, and the only wreck in there is Allstate, Sears Roebuck, Allstate job. And you see it takes 4 hours to do this particular part of the job, cut that down to 2 hours and sell that. I said, you know, I don't mind hosing the insured in a claim, but I didn't say hose, I used other word. I said, I worked for International Harvester Country for 9 years. I said, and they got 2 weeks notice. You got your 2 weeks notice now. I won't be this, what you want for nobody. And I told him what I thought. I said, you got your 2 weeks notice. They said, no. I never had another job to go to, but I wasn't going to do that. I couldn't see doing that to a guy in the garage, because I was in it for 9 years and I know what a job it was.
Right.
So that's what I did. So I quit there. So then I needed a job. So I did a job with Tex Alignment.
Whom?
Tex Alignment.
Oh,
It's
Tex.
down on Spring Grove Avenue. They did framework.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to work for him, straightening frames and stuff like that on trucks and cars and stuff like that. So I stayed with them for a while. 3Cs came along. They needed a body man. So I quit them and went with 3Cs.
That's a trucking company.
That's a trucking company.
Yes,
And then Dance Freight Lines came along. And they needed a body man. The one they had, he was a big, heavy-set fella. And he was stepping out of the back of a trailer and stepped on a ladder, and the ladder collapsed, and he broke his leg. They needed a body man. So I quit and went to work for them. I stayed with them for a couple of years. He finally got his leg patched, and Raymond Dance, that owns the place, he said, well, we don't need 2 body men. You're man, the low man, and a totem pole, so you're out. So I'm coming home with no job again. And on Spring Grove Avenue, right across from Conn's on Spring Grove Avenue, was a friend of mine, that Jack Neiman had a welding shop. Because him and his wife, he and I was the ones that went to school together, vocational school. And he had a body shop down there. Or not a body shop, but a welding shop. Mm-hmm. So I told him, he said, well, you're not out of work. He said, come on to work tomorrow. So he hired me as a welder. So I worked for him for a while. And then Hurlinger came along and they needed a body man. They wanted to start a body shop. So I quit there and went to work with him, and I worked the nights at the welding shop, doing welding on the side. They welded big, he used to do a lot of work for the Cincinnati Mine Machine Company. And they had these great big wheels, cast iron type of wheels, and they would weld tool bit control pieces on the end of this thing. You had to weld them on, and that's where they slid their cutting tool for cutting into stones and stuff like that for the concrete. And so I worked for them for for quite a few years. And then one day they came, the salesman that worked for our dairy, that did work, that sold them milk trucks and stuff like that, said they want to talk to you out there. As they had me come out there, and had 35 home delivery trucks. And I had to go out and look at the whole fleet and give them a price of doing the body work and painting and putting all decals and stuff on the trucks. So instead of hiring me to do that, they hired me as a mechanic and bodyman, and I worked for them for 20 years.
That was Meyer?
Meyer Dairy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that where you retired from?
That's where I retired from. Yeah. And the guy that in the back I told you to work for was in the Teamsters. He retired from trucks. He gets $2,000 a month retirement. I get $160. Big money again.
You said you, how many children did you have, Bob?
4.
4?
Yeah.
And
3 sons and a daughter.
Yeah, and what were their names?
There was Chris was the youngest one. David was the youngest boy. And Rick is the one that helps us out now. And Jim was the oldest one. And he's the one that had the greenhouses and stuff like that and taught at Diamond Oaks.
And you have a daughter also?
And the daughter, that's what I say, Chris, yeah.
Chris, yeah.
And she died. She was 49. She walked in the hospital. She was there from the 5th of June to the 15th of June and died. All her organs shut down. And she had a business at home where she had her computer and all her equipment in the basement. I built her an office in the basement. And she had 6 companies where she did bookworking.
Where were you living at all this time?
This time now I was living where I'm at now.
Where's that at?
On Alt House Road.
And where's that at?
Alt House Run runs between Harrison Avenue and Thompson Road and Coleraine Township before you get to Miamiatown.
Yes.
It's just 2 roads down where Springdale Road is, where St. Bernard's Church is.
Mm-hmm. And Pat, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I see the picture of the creek.
Yeah. Come on over.
Oh. Sorry.
Brian, can you see this? Now, do you remember the tail gunner's name at all?
Not really, no, I can't remember anymore. I don't remember the name of any. The only one I remember is the pilot.
What was his name?
Campbell.
Campbell, that's right, yeah.
Well, we've got this picture that Brian is seeing. Show us who was who. Tail gunner's right, tail gunner's here.
No, he was a waist gunner. He was a radio operator.
Upper gunner, is that
He was
the upper turret?
That was the upper turret, which was one of the mechanics. And then he was a ball turret.
Now, did the ball turret gunner, did he have to be?
Here's the names of the different guys. The pilot is Lieutenant Campbell.
Right, yeah.
The co-pilot is Mac Clemmy.
Could be, yeah, that's right. They'd be in there.
And the bombardier was Lieutenant Glaze.
All right.
And the navigator was Lieutenant Hudick.
Something like that, yeah.
Hudeck.
And she really, none of those officers had to do anything because I did all the piloting and told them what to do. When they would open the bomb bay doors, they'd open the bomb bay door. When they were going to do this or do that, I could tell the pilot what to do.
And it says the engineer was Tech Sergeant Massar, M-A-S-A-R.
Yeah, he was.
And then the radio man was Sergeant Robb.
Yeah.
And then Sergeant Michaels.
Yeah, that was the tail gunner, wasn't it?
Yes, and Sergeant Ritter.
Yeah, we can't remember what he did.
Is he a ball gunner?
And also another gunner was Staff Sergeant Matesey, M-A-M-E-T-E-S.
Could be, I don't remember.
Matesey. He was the ball turret.
Yeah, that was a ball gunner, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he's the only one that didn't come home with us when we came back.
Right.
Yeah, because he went it down and got venereal disease.
And the nose gunner, that's you.
Yeah, that's me, yeah. Mhm.
Now,
I'm sorry.
the ball turret gunner, did he always have to be with the shortest man in the crew?
No, I don't know why they did. It was kind of dumb, you know, to load that thing. They had to turn the guns completely straight down, and the door to get in and out was behind him. So he would open the door and he would step down in there and sit down and then he had the cable, pull the door shut like that, and then they would roll the turret back and run.
Well, was the ball turret gunner in his ball turret on takeoff, or did he get?
Oh, no.
All right,
No.
so when
The ball is up in the plane.
Okay,
There.
when do they drop the ball down out of the belly?
When you're on your mission, going on your mission, you drop it down and you would get in a while. Yeah.
So when you're on your final approach, was that when
What?
you were on your final approach, they drop it down?
No, you dropped it down for protection. You're not looking final church or nothing.
Okay. So, let me go back a little bit. Ray asked you about your sister. Is your sister still living?
No.
When did she pass away?
Oh my goodness, I don't remember.
It's been more than
It's
10
been,
or 20
it's been quite a few years ago, yeah. Yeah, she was 7 years older than I was. Yeah.
And her grandfather was Herman Stridehorse.
Yeah.
Do you know what he did?
He was a carpenter, and he worked for the Board of Education.
Here in Cincinnati?
Yeah.
So you were born in 23 and you
Right.
joined in 43, so you were 20 years old when you volunteered?
Probably, I don't remember.
You know, did you do any work before you enlisted?
He made screens and screen doors and stuff like that for people.
Through Stridehorse?
Strider, my grandpa. He had his workshop, and he was getting to the point where he couldn't work with his fingers too well. So he'd have me come down and set stuff up for him because he couldn't do it anymore. He wanted to still make the screens and stuff like that, but he showed me how to stretch screen wire and make all his moldings and all that kind of stuff like that. Yeah.
Did he pay you?
No, my God, no.
Or did you
You
have
didn't
any,
get paid back then.
Did you have any money-making job at that time?
I don't know, other than the newspapers and stuff like that.
Okay. You told Ray about the time you had this shirt that your mom had put all these buttons on, and you decided to go down the
Head
slide,
first, yeah,
head
head first, yeah.
What'd your mom say when you came home with that torn up?
She probably had a nervous wreck. Your only son, he's so damn dumb that he does something like that. And this is down, as I said, this is in front of the workhouse on Coleraine Avenue down there. And they had just finished plowing the fields. They had grass down there. And I guess it was pretty rough, so they plowed the thing. So when I fall, break his arm, we got a wagon down there. So these other kids I'm with, they put me in a damn wagon and they pulled me across this plowed field with a broken arm.
Oh, but that hurt.
Yeah. And around back then, they had what they called Green Cross places. Like instead of Red Cross, these were Green Cross. And they had doctors because there were so many foundries and stuff like that where people were getting hurt down there. In the neighborhood down there, they would have these places like that. And I can remember one time, one of the doctors that we went to only had one arm. And this doctor could take a roll of gauze and with his fingers bring that thing like that and bandage an arm or a leg or something like that with one hand. He was really something else. That really made an impression on me. Yeah. But that's where they took me to that. And then he finally took me downtown to down around the train station down there. Used to be, trying to think of the name of the hospital. Can't think of the name of it, but there was a hospital right near the train station down here.
In downtown Dayton?
Downtown here, right down here, yeah. And so they took me there, and then the doctor came to the house. After that, they set my arm. Well, this is before they had stainless steel hinges and all that kind of stuff like that. So they took this arm, which was compounded fractured in the elbow, and the doctor would put it in a sling, and he tied way up over my shoulder like that. Then either every day, once a week, I don't remember what it was, but he would come and take the sling down, and he would take this arm and move it back and forth to keep that joint open. And then he'd put a sling back up. Like my mother said, "Why do you do that?" You know, most he put a sling down here. He said, if some one of these days I come and I can't get that elbow to move anymore, it's up here like this. He can feed himself. He can button himself. He can control himself, take care of his body. If it's down here, you can't do another. It's stuck. And that's why, that was his theory of that. Yeah.
And so it worked pretty well, even though you had the...
I flew in the 15th Air Force, yeah.
You talked to Ray about these 11-hour flights. What made those flights longer than the normal?
They were so long to go, so far to go.
Were those the raids over to Palestine?
They would be further than that, yeah. Palestine was a lot closer.
Okay.
Palestine was right on the other side of Italy. Like Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia.
That was Romania.
I don't remember.
Was it Romania?
Yeah.
Palestine was in Romania?
I think that's what it was. I don't remember once again.
Well, did you have any flights over into Germany?
Well, that's what I said. Some of those long flights would be up towards Germany. Yeah.
Now, on any of those flights, your home base was in Italy, correct?
Right, yeah.
And in any of those flights, did you have escorts from any of the Red Tail, the Tuskegee Airmen?
I don't know what they
They
were.
had the Red Tail P-51s?
I don't remember what they were, yeah. But all I can say is the P-51, the thing is they could only fly so far with you, and they were going to run out of gas. So they would fly halfway to the mission and then turn around and leave you. So you were all by yourself. You had no fighter protection whatsoever because they couldn't go any further. They were going to run out of fuel.
What, if anything, was there a distinguishing feature about the Messerschmitts and the P-51s?
They looked alike.
I know they looked alike, but
Yeah.
how could you tell from a distance?
Well, that way you couldn't. So that's why they usually flew below us, because you weren't looking at the sun. The P-38s had a twin tails on them. I don't know if you would the P-31s,
familiar
yeah.
with those.
All right. They would fly overhead back and forth like that, where you could see the twin tails. You knew what they were.
All right.
But the P-51s would stay flying low down like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, you said the 1,200-pound bombs were used to
I'm guessing what
get through the concrete.
I guess, I don't know. All I can remember is when we went there the one time, instead of having all these racks with all these little bombs on it, these two monstrous bombs, one on each side of the plane itself had just a beam across the bottom about so big, it was like a catwalk you could walk across there in the bomb bay. And when you came out of the pilot, where the pilot stuff was, you stepped down a big stepway like that, and that's where that generator was, I told you.
Right.
Yeah. And then later on was the bomb bay
Catwalk
and the catwalk, one from the front of the plane to the back of the plane, yeah.
So, was that mission on one of the missions where you bombed the coastal batteries,
Yeah.
or was that another mission?
Oh, that would be would be smaller bombs, yeah, no.
Who made the bomb emblems, or who painted the bomb emblems on your uniform?
I don't know. I don't remember.
You didn't do that?
No. Same way with painting on the side of the planes. They were that way when we got the planes. as I say, we're somebody else's plane, and they were getting older, and we were only in the totem pole, so we got the garbage, yeah.
You got the planes that were shot up the most?
Shot up the most, yeah, and oldest, yeah, had most, all the hours on it, stuff like that, yeah. You were the crew, the young crew, you know.
And one of your landings, one of the tires blew out on you. When was that?
No, that was on the takeoff.
That was takeoff?
Yeah, that's what I said. One of the engines had been shot up pretty bad on this particular plane. And so they put a new engine in it. Well, they didn't want to put it on a regular mission because that's an awful strain for a new engine to go through for 10, 11 hours or whatever to keep constant running and stuff like that. So they had to do some slow time on it. So you would run the plane, that way you didn't run the engine too hard, too long. And the pilot, as I said, had this friend of his that was another pilot or whatever at one of the other air bases. And he wanted to go down and see him. So we took the whole crew with us because we're a crew. So we went down there for that. And that's when we were on our way coming back. And that particular runway had been bombed, and it was blacktops, and it had ruts in it.
It had potholes in it?
It had like potholes in it, yeah. And with this plane, even though there was no bombs on it, all this weight, it finally put enough strain on it that when the tires blew, and that's what the pictures were of that.
So, you remember which tire it was, on the left or on the right?
You'd have to look at the pictures.
There, you got it right there.
I just have this picture. Is that a picture of it?
Yeah, it had to be right there, yeah. You tilted.
It's showing us this plane right there.
Mm-hmm. And see, that was the jacket I had where I had the bombs all painted on it.
All right here?
This one here, yeah. See, those are all bombs.
And each bomb was
Little-
was a mission that you flew.
It was a mission I flew, yeah.
And did you make the pattern for the bombs?
Oh, yeah, a little piece of cardboard, yeah.
All right.
And then you took a pen or pencil or something and drew the outline of it, and then you took some white paint and painted on it.
And one of these pictures shows a plane that's got a painting on it, the Fertile Turtle. Did you fly on
That was another one, yeah.
Do you know how many missions you flew on that?
And I haven't the faintest idea. No.
Bob, did you get a Purple Heart?
No,
'Cause
never
you-
got a scratch enough.
I thought you were scratched in.
Oh, yeah, my face got scratched a little bit. No. Oh, they wanted me to come, after I put in the 51 missions, get ready to come home. And they said, would you like a cluster for your air medal? Stay and we'll run a few more missions. Well, I told them where they could put their medal, and I hope it didn't hurt. After 51 missions, I should go back up to get a damn cluster for a medal?
Right.
You gotta be kidding.
What medal?
I'm an idiot, but I'm not that bad.
Did you? What medals did you get? You got the
It's Distinguished Flying Cross, that's all. And I think the air medal with all kind of clusters, all like junk
Right.
like that. Big
Yes.
deal.
Well, it is a big deal. That's a lot of.
Not for me, it wasn't.
That's a
put
lot
it-
of missions you flew.
Put in a lot of time.
Wow. I don't think we asked you this. What did you do at the base when you weren't getting prepped and going on missions? What activities did you do?
Tried to get as much sleep as I could.
How was the food on base?
I never cared for GI food, but they had K rations. You know, the K rations with the little cans and stuff like that.
You know?
Well, they had eggs, scrambled eggs, and bacon and stuff like that in these little things like that. So if I didn't have to go on a mission, I would lay them on the edge of the tent we lived in the sun, to get them heated up. and pull them off, and that's what I ate. I never cared for the damn. I'm still picky today.
So the airmen didn't get any special
No
food?
heavenly days, no.
How was the weather over there in Italy while you were there?
While we were there, it was fairly decent weather. We never had any. I wasn't there long enough to run into any winters and stuff like that.
Did you have any flights canceled because of weather?
Oh, flight sometimes, yeah. When it's all according to where you're going to be bombing. If the area where you're going to be bombing is too foggy or too bad of weather, then they would cancel the mission and send you someplace else on a different mission.
I read in your log there that you had one mission where you bombed a factory that was right next to a concentration camp.
Oh yeah. I can remember that one. Yeah.
You remember
The thing is, it was over around Switzerland, and there was the lake there, and next to the lake was the concentration camp, or whatever you want to call it. And then right next to that was the other, I'm trying to think of a damn thing like that. But anyway,
I think it might have been,
yeah.
it was real close to the concentration camp.
Oh, right, yeah. The thing they did is they didn't want you to bomb that particular area. So they put it right next to the concentration camp, where the GIs and the friendly prisoners were kept. And that way they figured you wouldn't bomb the thing. So the thing they did is they dropped the planes down to a few hundred feet off the ground so that you were right there. You could see exactly where you're at. And when you flew over, you could drop the bombs right there. It wasn't what you saturated bombs from the air. You were close by, yeah.
So that was a successful raid? You didn't,
Oh, yeah.
no bombs fell on the
No.
prisoner of war camp?
No. And we were the last plane in the last squadron to bomb.
And nobody else bombed?
Nobody else after us. We were the last one. So we're coming back to the Alps Mountains, and you never know when you're going to run into a blind area that there's no outlet. So we're coming back, and we're flying in between these mountains on each side of you like that. And so we got out into the Mediterranean Sea, or what the heck sea that is, over in Italy over there. And we dropped down to 500 or 600 feet off the ground, off the area, off the water, so that no German planes could strafe over the top of us. If they came in, they came straight in. We could see what's going on. We were on our way coming back, and we're down so low that along the Italian coast was a German battleship. Nobody else seen this thing because they'd all camouflage nets over it. And they were up high, and they're looking down. Camouflage nets was part of the ground. We're down below, we're looking up underneath the thing. So we get back to base and we report this battleship. So there's no battleship there, so we seen it. So we reported in. And a while after that, we went on a mission again to go off of Italy, over Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia. And we see this battleship laying on the side up there. They sent the night fighters up there to torpedo and sink this thing. And the only one that seen it is our crew, because we were looking underneath the camouflage.
You really had to be close to the water.
Oh yeah, we looked right underneath the thing, yeah.
So were you less than a couple hundred feet in order to see?
I would say so, yeah. As I say, when we're flying a nose through it like that, you can see what's going on.
The B-24, was it pressurized?
Oh, no.
So you were,
No.
when you're flying at 10,000, 12,000, you're freezing up there?
Oh, yeah. You had oxygen, the mask that you put on, stuff like that. And you had heated suits. You had regular clothes with electric plugs in and wires in it to heat your gloves and heat your clothes and stuff like that. But no, you never had nothing pressurized.
And you had your oxygen mask.
And you had your oxygen mask, yeah. And you used a throat mic. It was like a little button. And it was against your throat.
What was your nose made out of? Was that plexiglass?
All plastic, yeah.
Wasn't glass or anything?
No, all plastic. Except you had a little sight thing for you can see for more accurate shooting and stuff like that. But you had 250 caliber machine guns, one on each side of it.
Did they have the Norden bomb sight by that time?
Yeah.
You had one on your planes?
Yeah, but we never used it
Because you weren't high enough?
because I was piloting.
Okay.
Because when the bombardier opened the bomb bay in a plane in front, I told the pilot to open the bomb bay door.
They follow the
To
lead.
release the bombs. I said, release the bomb. They released the bomb. Nobody else had to do anything. I just told them what to do.
So the guy that's in the lead plane, he's using the bomb sight?
Yeah, he probably was using that, yeah.
When you came back on the ship to New York, did you have any problems from any of those German prisoners?
No, other than that, I said with business and 4 of them, that's all. Yeah.
But you didn't have any problems on board?
No. No, hell, they were glad to get away from over there. Yeah.
And how were they dressed? Were they dressed in their uniforms?
No, I can't remember, but I think most of them just regular clothes, yeah. That's the whole trouble with the war today. Back then, who you fought was in a uniform. Today, they hide behind these civilians with regular clothes on them, and they wonder why the hell they're shooting so many civilians, because they're hiding behind them. I feel sorry for these soldiers today. Yeah.
Well, thank you for letting me ask those
Sure.
questions. Ray?
Brian?
You're gonna run out of tape.
I just have a couple of questions.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever fly a plane before your military service?
No, but I worked for Queen City Flying Service at Lunken Airport.
What'd you do with them?
Night watchman. I was in school, and you co-opt, and they gave me a .22 rifle to shoot the rats and the mice, and walk around
Keep this stuff over there.
at night
So
down there. That's all.
the first time you were flown in a plane was when you were in training?
Well, when we went training, yeah. But it didn't bother me anyway.
But did you have an interest in flying?
Do I have anyone?
Did you have an interest in flying?
No, flew went no problem whatsoever.
I was just wondering why you went into the airport.
Well, with going to aviation high school,
Okay.
and in the aviation high school, you learn how to build an airplane. You took plywood and strips of wood and stuff like that, and you built wings, glued the stuff together, and then when you got done, you covered the whole thing with material, and then you took clear lacquer and lacquered the wings and stuff like that to make regular planes. And then to start off with, you started with a little square framework that you made, and you covered the material, and you got it all finished like that, and the instructor would come over and check, if that looks fine, then take a pencil and poke a big hole through it. He said, okay, now patch it.
Where was this at?
When I went to school.
What school? Oh, you mean while you were in the Air Force?
No, when I was in high school.
You're talking about at Lunken Airport?
No, this is when
Oh, when you were...
we moved
What
from
became
the
Central State?
aviation, automotive high school was up around, when a crew and watch, I can't remember what, up around Clifton up there.
Uh-huh.
There was Boulder Matai, there was a couple of different companies up right there. And also there was Screw and Watch Company, and there was where they built the bases and stuff like that. I'm trying to think of the name of the outfit.
Rookwood?
Yeah, Rookwood pottery and all that kind of stuff up around there. And so they were so crowded up there that they moved us down to 7th and 7th and Vine Street, I think it was, downtown down here, into one of the old factory buildings down there, and we had school down here.
So you were taking a class on about planes and things?
I went to regular high school, was aviation high school, yeah.
But those classes you were taking downtown,
That was the same thing. That was a high school, in high school. We graduated, not graduated, but then instead of going to regular classes like everybody else did, is we had me making these badges for Wright Brothers, making these airplane engines and stuff like that at Wright Brothers, which used to be out of Sharonville out there.
right?
And I made these badges, took the pictures and printed them and made these badges up. So instead of learning how to read and write, I ended up doing that kind of stuff. Anything to get out of school.
Now, did you grew up in Camp Washington?
Yeah.
Now, there were a lot of factories around there. Were they all get involved in the war effort, I guess?
Well, that's what I say. I'm trying to think of the name of the machine shop that was down on Coleraine Avenue, right near where Hopple Street was. And I wish the heck I could remember the name of it. But they built, as I sold newspapers there, and they made cannons. They had great big lathes where they did big long cannon stock, and they would machine these out to make regular big cannons, stuff like that. I can remember that. Yeah.
I'm sure you never spent any time at the workhouse yourself there, but I guess living in a neighborhood, you must have had some stories growing up with that old building in your neighborhood.
Well, the thing is, during the holidays, at the workhouse down there, they had what they call, for the children, local kids, they had candy, this hardtack candy with a little design and stuff in it like that. And they'd give you an apple, an orange, a banana. And then you would go into the prisoners' lunchroom, and they would have films, cartoons for the local kids and stuff like that. Just a little Christmas party for them.
Oh.
Every year they had that, yeah.
Now, wasn't WLW in Camp Washington for a while?
WLW is right up the street up there.
Do you have any stories? Did you ever see any of the radio
Well,
personalities?
Before I went in the service, they had in the WLW broadcast, they had what they call, Conrad, I have an awful time talking, my head gets this stuff. Conrad Unsolved Mysteries. And they would have these, and they would leave some of us come in and sit in the studio while this stuff was going on, and these guys would have these scripts in their hand. And then they had the guy that did the sound stuff, knock on the door and ring the doorbell or close the car, or all kind of junk like that. And he had his tables where he had, and for rain, they used ball bearings and dump them on the table, and it would rumble down the side, stuff like that.
So
and
you as a neighborhood kid got to go up there and see them do the radio
and
show?
we would sit in the audience there, and you could see him working at the table and then they had their scripts. And when they got done with the scripts, they would just throw them away, and they would give them to the kids there. And you had big thick, what the hell are we gonna do with them? I don't know. But you had big thick script of the program that was on the radio. Yeah. Good old days.
So did a lot of your friends that you went to school with, did they go into the military too?
I don't know whatever happened to them.
I was wondering about your neighborhood. Did a lot of people, when the Pearl Harbor happened, did a lot of people in your neighborhood, Camp Washington, sign up?
I didn't know too many people in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah. You had the neighbors around there, the people next door to you, maybe across the street, and the mother and father had died, and the guy was more or less by himself, him and his brother, and I knew them, and other than that, the neighbor down the street down there, his parents worked for where they made footballs and stuff like that, some kind of tannery type of thing, stuff like that. So you knew them, and that's about it. So you really didn't know the neighbors too much. You didn't socialize that much with people like that, you know.
Did you have anybody else in your family that had been in the military, or are you the only one?
I don't remember. Could be. I'm the faintest idea.
Well, did your parents, were they concerned about you going overseas and things?
Well, my mother was always worried about me. I mean, after 7 years old, you break your damn arm. What the hell else can you get into, you know? You're allowed to do something other dumb thing.
How did you get through basic training with your arm?
Just like anybody else.
Yeah. Well, that's only really what I think you guys covered everything else I wanted to ask. So, well, thank you.
Well,
Yeah, you're welcome.
let me ask you a couple of questions about your log here. People are gonna be viewing this years down the road, and before today, Ray pointed out to me that there were 2 D-days, one in southern France, and one in
Normandy.
By Normandy. You have an entry here, August the 12th of 44 to August the 15th of 44. You bombed flak batteries and coastal guns to help D-Day of southern France.
Right.
And
That was the southern France invasion, yeah.
so how many missions a day would you do during that period of time? Just one a day?
One way, yeah.
One a day?
That's what I said. We went up and bombed the first mission. We went up, we bombed out all the bridges and all the roads coming to the coast. And then the next day is when we went up, when they were going to be going invading. And before the invasion troops went in, is when I said we seen that battleship. First time I'd ever seen one.
Okay,
And
so,
then we bombed all the coastal guns.
so that was in preparation for this
It was
D-Day.
in preparation for the invasion, yeah, of southern France.
Well, then, your last entry here happens to be on my birthday, August 24th, 1944, and I was 5 years old. Didn't know anything about you or the war,
Right.
except I can remember my parents and rationing, and having rationing coupons.
Mm-hmm.
But you say this was your last mission and one of the toughest for fighters.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, the last entry in that one, yeah.
Yeah, number 40 fighters hit our formation, number 10 abreast in 4 waves. What were those fighters? For those,
I have the faintest idea, I don't remember anymore.
at one time you could see 14 parachutes
Right, yeah.
from fellas in your mission.
Yeah, the planes that were got shot down, yeah.
You say that there were 2 B-24s and 2 ME
109.
109s
Right, MB
going
109.
down at the same time.
Right.
Did you see any parachutes out of the
Oh, I haven't.
ME-109s?
When you're up like that and getting shot at, you don't go around counting anything.
But no one on your ship was hurt at that time?
No.
I just thought that was that one of the worst attacks of fighters you had on
Well,
your
that's-
missions?
It's one that I could concentrate on what was going on.
Okay.
I mean, the other ones, you're in it and you're part of it. But this here, we were probably away from it. I guess we were away from it at the time.
Mhm.
And you could see more or less of what was going on, yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you.
The bill will be in the in a check in the morning.
Yeah, I'll be sure to do that. A little more than 50 cents an hour, though.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this interview.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And for your
Yeah.
story. And we appreciate and want to thank you for your service to our country and your patriotism.
There's no wheelchairs up around here, is there?
No,
So,
I checked on that.
thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome.